New York just became the latest American city to see its population take a nosedive in what has become some kind of trend in many big cities recently. Heck, it's now more than just a numeric decline, considering that the population in many of these cities is headed downhill as fast as a snowball rolling down the edge. And of course, when a city starts to lose its population, it leads to a series of related negative events. For starters, there's bound to be a drop in tax dollars, which will lead to a drop in public services and infrastructure, further leading to a rise in crime rate. This in turn will lead to a further decline in population, and the circle goes on and on. Sadly, this has been the story of several American cities recently, as more people are moving out in droves, like they were running from some zombie apocalypse. But then, which cities are these, and why are people moving away from them? Well, keep watching this video, and we'll take you on a quick ride through the top American cities with the fastest population decline today. We will also reveal some of the secrets why people are running from these cities, so stick around till the end. Number 10. Buffalo, New York. Many of the cities you will see on this list have suffered from declining industrial activities in the country, but none of them have been hit harder than Buffalo. On top of that, the city is struggling with an intense crime rate that has scared away potential businesses, investors, and residents across various age grades. The crime rate in these parts is at an all-time high, at about 1,400 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents, and the average household income is pretty low, at $35,000. Now, it's easier to see why this city is losing its population, despite the cheap cost of living there. Number 9. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis used to be one of the most exciting places to live in Minnesota, especially for its chain of picturesque lakes, but then a history of racial tension and a high crime rate that has become noticeable even in the affluent western suburbs has seen the city lose relevance in recent years. Also, a seemingly unfavorable climate that features freezing weather conditions for almost half the year doesn't really help the fading reputation. As if that's not enough, the real estate market here is very expensive. Yes, you heard that right. Despite their problems, Minneapolis won't let go of its pride, and this may well have been the deal breaker for many potential residents. This has seen the city lose about 10% of its population since it peaked in the 1950s, and it's still showing signs of further decline in the next decade. Number 8. Baltimore. What do you get when you combine a high crime rate with extreme poverty and limited infrastructure? Well, you'd certainly get a rapidly declining population, and Baltimore knows quite a lot about this. As a city that doesn't have much to offer in terms of attractions, Baltimore has also seen most, if not all, of its infrastructure become old and out of style. Of course, the city once maxed out with a population that almost reached the 1 million mark in the 1950s, but with a series of unfortunate events that had seen the population tumble over, the city now has only about 500,000 people residing there. It even gets worse, because with a crime rate of approximately 800 incidents for every 100,000 residents and an average household income of under $37,000, the population is predicted to plummet deeper before the end of the decade. Number 7. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. No offense intended, but Pittsburgh is one of those cities that have never really had much highlights, so people generally don't care what's going on there. But then, the city seems to be showing signs of a comeback in recent years, with a few new infrastructural developments and businesses. However, despite the applaudable efforts, the city is still finding it difficult to attract young professionals. This and a relatively high crime rate has seen the city rank among the top cities facing a population decline in 2023. Number 6. Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati is one of the more popular cities in Ohio and is known for its classic museums and 19th century styled architecture. However, the Queen City, as locals have tagged it, is recently losing its population faster than an oak tree loses its leaves in autumn. Cincinnati, as we know it, has always struggled economically, and it is certainly not helped by its high crime rates. The city has seen its population drop about 40% since it peaked in the 1960s, and it's still showing signs of a further decline in the near future. Number 5. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis is another city that has seen its economy and infrastructural developments limited by the racial and class division experienced here. But despite its declining economy and low average household income of about $40,000, the cost of living here is still on the high side. No wonder the the city is struggling to attract new people. But then, why exactly is St. Louis losing its old residents? Well, for starters, the crime rate here is pretty high, at about 1,800 violent crimes for every 100,000 residents, which makes the city rank among the worst places to live in. Add that to the ever-present racial tension in these parts, and you'll see why everybody is leaving this city. Number 4, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit is one city I bet you'll be surprised to see on this list, especially since it's still widely known for its high population density. Yes, the city is the most populous in Michigan and arguably one of the densest in the US and Canada border region. But what you may not know about this city, which used to be the center of the US auto industry, is that it has had its population on the decline for almost half a century now. Of course, Detroit has retained its status as one of the most highly populated cities, and this is all thanks to the very low cost of living in these parts. But then, the population has never really remained the same since it peaked in the 1950s, with a little over 1.8 million residents. Today, the city's population is somewhere around 600,000, and this is the highest decline recorded by any city in this period. Now, you can't help but wonder what's chasing everyone away from this city. Well, the answer is a pretty straightforward one. Sadly, the decline of the auto industries in these parts didn't do much good, as it ushered in an era of job loss and limited employment opportunities. Add that to what is one of the worst violent crime rates in the country today, and you'll see why everyone is in a hurry to leave Detroit. Number 3, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee is what many would describe as a cool city, with lots of potential for growth and development, and the fact that it is located in one of the safest states in the country means its stock is often looking upwards. But then, this city can also be said to be the one bad egg in the state, as it is the only place in Wisconsin with any real threat of violent crimes. Well, as you would expect, this city's population has responded to these threats by taking a tumble from over 800,000 residents in the 80s to just over 500,000 in 2023. What's most worrying, however, is that a chunk of this population decline happened in the last decade, and at this rate, the city is estimated to lose a further 4.6% of its current population in the next 5 years. Number 2, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City was the most populated city in Missouri, as per the 2020 census, and it is one of the only places on this list that has recorded a positive population return in recent years. Well, this isn't too much of a surprise, especially considering the rich history of this city. However, Kansas City has one major problem that has been a dent in its otherwise decent reputation. And if you think it's about the high crime rate here, then you're 100% correct. Violent crime has been a big issue in this part of Missouri, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon. Despite the lots of complaints by residents and positive reassurance by the city officials, the violent crime rate in Kansas still stands at 900 crimes per 100,000 residents. And since the city is yet to find a practical solution to this problem, the population here is predicted to go down about 4% in the next 5 years. Number 1, Cleveland, Ohio. The story of Cleveland's population drop is one of the most heartbreaking you'll hear today. The once so busy city has lost a majority of its population and relevance due to the lack of opportunities that resulted from the industrial decline. Hopes of a revamp in Cleveland have since faded as well, and the city is being left behind with every passing year. Today, companies and people are walking away because of the lack of infrastructure, leaving many parts of the city empty and quiet. A walk through this city will open your eyes to the worrying number of sad, old, and empty buildings in Cleveland. But even that is not advisable, as the streets are not safe because of the high crime rate in these parts. This indeed is a sad story, and there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. Do you feel we missed out on any city that should be on this list? Just drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Also, check out other videos on this channel now for more eye-opening tourist secrets that will totally drop your jaw.